Ho, 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 gentlemen. The holidays have come early this year as Manscaped have the gift that keeps on trimming. Santa's beard isn't so appealing when it's coming out of your trousers, and that's why Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, have you covered this holiday season. Now available in your country, join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped to keep their trees trimmed and ornaments polished. Go to manscaped.com and use code DTR for 20% off plus free shipping.
Stafford under pressure, and a tuck it, and he's in! Darrell Henderson, he's off and running! As Woods, touchdown! Cooper Kupp just went up and took it away.
Van Jefferson for the touchdown.
Aaron Donald smothers him. Jalen Ramsey with the pop-up. Sacked by Leonard Floyd, having a day again.
Darius Williams with a diving hit. Jordan Fuller comes up with his second interception of the night.
All right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm your host, Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co-host, Jake Ellenbogen. And guys, joining us today to preview our Los Angeles Rams matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay, we have JC Allen joining us, and he covers the Bucs for Pewter Report. JC, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Happy to be here. Excited to talk about this matchup because I think it's probably the best matchup in the playoffs so far. Two very talented teams. Obviously, some history between them. The last 3 years they've played each other. Going to play each other next year. Now they're rematching from an earlier matchup in Week 3 in here in the divisional round, and a lot at the stake. Obviously, a chance to go to the NFC Championship and potentially the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, in my opinion, doesn't get better than this. Rams fans are very familiar with Tom Brady, over the years, and especially most recently 2 to 3 years ago in the Super Bowl when he was with the Patriots. Obviously, was not a very fun time for Rams fans. That is still very fresh in our minds. We did obviously play you guys earlier in the year where the Rams did beat the Buccaneers in Los Angeles, and that was a very good time for the Rams fans. But also, like I said, Tom Brady and Rams, it is kind of an unspoken rivalry in the Rams fandom. And JC, I'm going to let you give your thoughts on this first. I mean, you know the Bucs, you cover them. If you're going against the Los Angeles Rams, what is the number one thing that the Buccaneers would need to do to come out strong and get ahead of the Rams?
Well, I mean, on defense, it's all about recognizing the matchups. Brady's one of the best to do it. He's got and it's funny because the Rams play zone, but they play a really sophisticated type of zone where a lot of it is kind of like it turns into man matchups. So Brady's gonna have to be careful when he's dissecting and passing the ball. Obviously, the offensive line is going to need to hold up, and there's some real serious question marks there with their center and their right tackle. But I think if you're the Bucs, you have to get out to an early start. You can't start slow against this Rams team because they're so talented on offense that they can move the ball and put points up at any given time. And if you're the Bucs, you're kind of in the same situation the Eagles were in last week when they placed the Bucs. You start to fall behind. It really changes your game plan. So a fast start by the Bucs is just, it has to happen. If they come out flat, come out slow, the Rams are going to make you pay for that. And we've seen that happen throughout the year with this Rams team. And, you go back to that Week 3 matchup. These two teams were tied right before the half, and the Rams obviously got the ball before the half and then got the ball after the half, scored 2 touchdowns and pulled away. So you can't let that happen either. So for the offense, if you're Tom Brady and you're coming out there, it's all cylinders go, up-tempo offense, get the ball out quick, find those short intermediate routes that have been kind of a pain in the neck for the Rams to stop over the season and really put points on the board whenever you can instead of kicking field goals.
Yeah, JC, I wanted to ask you, looking at this game, obviously the way it is, are you looking at this in a sense where they are probably best off wanting to, if they win the coin toss, would they defer, or are you saying that they should, get off to a good start early on and just take the ball first?
I mean, me personally, I think they should take the ball and start. You're at home, so but it's different. It's different too because you've got such a good defense, right, for the Bucs, and they're finally, for the first time, it looks like, if Sean Murphy Bunting can in fact have their entire starting defense on the field for the first time all season. they've had their starting secondary out there for about a quarter before one game Jamel Dean went down, the other game Sean Murphy-Bunting went down. So they still have yet to play a full game at all with their starting secondary and a game at all this season with their starting defense. So you're starting to get guys healthy back at the right time. So I think you can rely on your defense to maybe go out there and stop, but I think you want to put points on at home. You want to get the crowd into it early, right? That's one of the best things about playing at home is the crowd. So you go out there, you get the ball first, you score, and then the defense comes out and the crowd is already hyped and amped up to go. That puts more pressure on the Rams to score. So it's always nice to get that, as the Rams did in LA week 3, get that, chance to score before the half and get the ball before the half. But I think if you're the Bucs, I think you want the ball first to set the tempo and say, hey, this is what's going to happen. We're going to go down the field. We're going to score. We're going to put our defense on and we're going to put the pressure on you. Do the Bucs think that way? I don't know. Sometimes they're very conservative and they want to put the defense out there first. But if I am the Bucs, if I'm calling the plays, if I have to say, I'm putting the offense out there first and letting them go to work. At least, at the very least, see what the Rams are gonna present on defense, so I can go the next drive. If you don't get points, be able to make your adjustments and start putting the pedal to the metal.
And, it's interesting because I actually feel for the Rams. If I'm answering the question of, what do I think the Rams need to do to get ahead of the Buccaneers, it's pretty much the same exact thing. I think that with the Rams and people who have watched a good majority of the Rams this season, the Rams, for a majority of the season, can come out really, really strong, but they have a problem with staying consistent. So a lot of times the Rams need to come out and score points and get a good lead in case they give it up. And actually last week in our first playoff game against the Cardinals, Jake and I talked about in the podcast how that was the most complete game that the Rams have played all season. From start to finish, I felt like the Rams came out and they did their job from the first quarter to the fourth. And I hope, obviously, that they do that against Tampa, but also as a Rams fan who's kind of has PTSD from some of the leads that they've blown and the way that they kind of have, given up leads, and sometimes towards the end of the game, they seem to fall apart. When I'm looking at the Bucs, in my mind, I'm like, the Rams need to get out there and they need to score often, right away, get it done. And I think a lot of that also relies on Matthew Stafford, which, JC, I'm going to ask you your thoughts about Matthew Stafford here because, obviously the Rams traded a lot to get him. We did our quarterback swap with the Lions, sending Jared Goff to Detroit. He started off really, really good for the Rams. He did have a period of a few games where the Rams lost 4 in a row, where Matthew Stafford really, really struggled. Obviously, throwing picks has been a struggle for him. And when we looked at the game last week, he did throw an interception, but he also played very well. And I just want to hear your thoughts on Matthew Stafford, and if you think that this Bucs defense, who's very talented, can, pressure him, can maybe get some interceptions or force some sacks, and how do you think that matchup is going to go?
Yeah, so with Matt Stafford, it's going to take a complete opposite approach of what the Bucs normally do. They finished the season blitzing at a 41% rate, which is the highest in the league by far. Todd Bowles loves to send blitzes and with 5 or more, and that has actually been favorable for Matt Stafford. He's actually thrived in that role. In fact, he's posted 141.8 passer rating against the blitz when there's 5 or more rushers, which is the highest mark by any quarterback since 2016. In the next gen stats era. So, he's been really prolific at that. Now the Bucs did a good job in week 3, only sent 11, blitzed 11 times, but in those 11 times, Stafford still torched them. He went 8 for 10 for, I believe for 81 yards and a touchdown. And one of those was a drop, and he was only sacked 1 time. So, he really played really well when Todd Bowles blitzed. Now, Bowles is going to blitz. He's going to find ways to do it. It's just the fact of, can they play technically sound football when they're blitzing? Are they doing the right job in coverage to allow him not to find guys quick and not to be able to move the ball? One big thing that is an advantage is Jamel Dean will be playing in this. It looks like Sean Murphy-Bunting will be playing with this. Jordan Whitehead, who only had one game back at that point, he's in full season mode. So you've got your entire complement of characters back in the secondary, which should definitely help in coverage. And, JPP is well rested after taking the last, 3 games off, played last week, but, they were on a pitch count. So these guys should be ready to go. I will say, though, if Bowles can get to, and the Bucs can get to Stafford with just 4 or less, that's the way to do it. That's the way to rattle Stafford, because when Stafford's been rushed with 4 or less, 16 of his 17 turnovers, his interceptions, have came when that's happened. So for the Bucs, it's going to take pressure, and it's going to take pressure because you're going to have to bracket Cooper Kupp, right? You're going to have to pretty much do what the Cardinals did last week and try to find a way to cover him with a corner and a safety, bracket him, and not let him beat you, because Cooper Kupp has just been a Buck killer the last 3 games he's played him. And, if you can do that and you can get pressure with 4, then you've got a good chance of really disrupting his passing rhythm, passing game, and turning the tide real quick. So it's going to take some discipline from Bowles. It's going to take some sound football and sound technique from the defenders. But if they can do that, I really like the Bucs' chances. And I think that's something that they can do. They will be able to pull off and then ultimately, hopefully get the W this weekend.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. With your statement on basically you don't blitz the guys, and if you're able to send 3 or 4 guys and be able to develop some pressure on the quarterbacks, I think that would be the same with every quarterback in this playoff right now. I mean, Josh Allen, teams stop blitzing him and, he starts to struggle. Teams don't blitz Patrick Mahomes and he doesn't play like he normally does. I mean, it really I think you really can't explain it or stress it enough when, teams that when you blitz a quarterback that already knows what they're doing, even when they're under pressure of a 3 or 4 man rush, when you're not blitzing them, it makes it incredibly difficult to read the field. But when you do, it makes it incredibly easy. It's why even Brady can pick you apart. He sees, okay, that spot's open now, I'm going to go there. It's like when you're trying to, break into a compound and the guard leaves his post. Okay, I think I'll go that way instead of going the way where all the guards are. I just feel like it's one of the easier things, and it's honestly, it sounds weird because you would think adding more pressure, quarterbacks would falter under it. And it's not to say that some quarterbacks absolutely struggle under pressure, but, Stafford's one of those guys where if you throw an extra guy at him and you blitz him, he can pick that spot. He can find, because, it's not that when you blitz, you're not just getting guys off the sidelines for free. I mean, it's 11, personnel, there's 11 guys on the field and you're sitting there and you send a guy and now all of a sudden he's leaving his post. And so I do think it opens up the door for that. I think it's going to be very interesting for the new acquisitions. Stafford playing in his now his 5th ever career playoff game. Obviously the big narrative was that he was 0-3. He just came off an incredible performance against the Cardinals, but a performance where they didn't need him to do everything. And the last time he played against the Bucs, I mean, this was somebody that threw over 300 yards and, he put together, a 4-touchdown performance. And so, to me, I look at that and I see, obviously he's very capable of doing whatever they need him to do. But like you said, this is the first time this year potentially that the Bucs would have their entire defense back. There were some injuries in that game. I mean, you have to point out, of course, Jamel Dean does go down with an injury. Gronkowski even went down with injury on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think people realize, you probably do because you cover them, but, people outside of the Buccaneers don't realize how important Chris Godwin is and how, well-rounded of a game he has, how he can block and, he can really help you in every avenue. So not having him is extensive, not having Antonio Brown, they didn't really have him in that game. So, they're definitely going to be missing those pieces. They're not 100%. I do think the offensive linemen that are coming back, they're not 100% either. So even if they play, I'm not sure how effective they're going to be. I think the thing is, though, when you look at the Rams acquisitions, the way Stafford's played, the way Von Miller, we're talking about now last week, he records a 6th sack with the Rams since he joined the Rams. That extends his streak to 5 straight games with a sack. You look at OBJ, he has 6 touchdowns in the last 8 games. games. Before that run, he had 6 touchdowns in his previous 20 games dating back to 2019. And the big thing with OBJ was, we had the infamous, boat trip, and obviously the Giants and 4 catches for 28 yards. And I'm sure, he was constantly hearing that. Well, he stepped up in a big way last week. So basically, him and Stafford have put past, they've put it behind them, those demons, those playoff demons. So it's going to be very, very intriguing. What I want to ask you is, as far as Odell goes, and you said they're going to bracket Cup, which I would expect, last week we kind of saw what happens when you take away Cup. And I think the explosion of the Rams offense and the unpredictability about it, and why, even though I watched that game and felt like they could have been so much more, they could have executed so much better and been more consistent on offense, despite scoring all those points. I'm still sitting here like they have so many different ways to go. How does a Coach Bowles come into this game and see, okay, well, now I have Akers to worry about in his second game and his true first game back from the injury? If you're being honest, he almost had 100 yards of total offense, had 40 taken away on, or over 50 taken away on penalties, and had almost a 40-yard catch on a wheel route down the right sideline by Stafford. How do you pick your poison in this? Because one way or another, you can't neutralize everybody, and especially if you can't stop the run. So this is a team that has been able to stop the run over, the course of the last 2 years. But what are you doing, JC? How do you pick your poison if you're Todd Bowles?
Well, see, I think that's what makes this matchup so difficult to predict, right? Is because it's not like a Green Bay. It's not like an Eagle. It's not like one of those teams that have just one guy. You worry about the one guy. If either one of these franchises make it to the NFC Championship game and it's the Packers, you focus solely on taking away Devontae Adams and say, okay, in the running game, and say, all right, beat us with Tanyan, beat us with Lazard, beat us with MVS, beat us with Randall Cobb. And you saw the Bucs did that last year, and Rodgers struggled. So I think you kind of take that game plan that you had last season in the Super Bowl, kind of not the exact similar, but enough of it. This is a Rams team that has not run the ball on the Bucs at all. I think that week 3 was the highest total they had in the last 3 games, was 76 yards on the ground. Before that, it was 40 and under. So they have not ran the ball efficiently or even tried to. They have averaged over 399 yards a game through the air. So, there's that. But, I think from an outside perspective, if you don't cover the Tampa Bay and you don't watch the Buccaneers often, you don't really understand how good Carlton Davis really is. Carlton Davis is a lockdown corner. There's no doubt in my mind about it watching him play. I've seen him shut down guys like Devontae Adams twice last year, DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, not this weird version of Julio Jones and the Titans, but the real Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, some of the best wide receivers in the league I've seen him shut down. And, Odell Beckham Jr., for everything that he's been able to do, this little mini resurgence in his career, I still think he's lost a step, and he's not the OBJ making acrobatic catches that everyone loves, And I think that's probably the matchup. I think he'll shadow him the entire game. And that, you're not going to take away completely, but you're not going to let OBJ beat you one-on-one with Carlton Davis. It shouldn't happen, and I don't think it's going to happen. So that leaves obviously Cooper Kupp as the big guy. Van Jefferson, obviously a talented wide receiver, one of my favorite guys coming out of college a few years ago. I think Jamel Dean will draw that matchup. Dean is a speedy guy, and he's been playing at an incredible clip. Actually, he's had a lot of bumps and bruises this season, but when he's played, he finished as a top 10 coverage cornerback by PFF this year. Last week, he played at an all-pro clip, was really, really good on the field. So I think he'll probably match up against Van Jefferson, and then you'll get Sean Murphy-Bunting most likely with safety help, probably Antoine Winfield Jr. or Edwards if they have him out there, and that's how you're going to bracket Kupp. Now, these guys are still going to get their plays. I don't think they're not going to, score some points, and obviously there will be some times that Stafford's going to be able to find them. But I think if you're taking that game plan, I think you should be able to limit them enough where they're not annihilating you. They're not getting 400 yards this game. As far as Cam Akers, Sony Michel, obviously this run defense is incredible. Levante David's back. They just shut down the number one run offense in the league with the Eagles. Granted, they did that by scoring early and often and taking that away from them completely. I think if that's what you're going to dare the Rams to run it on you, right? And they've had some struggles doing that. Now, they didn't finish as a terrible run team. I mean, the 25th overall in the league, right in front of the Bucs, who finished 26th. And Cam Akers is huge coming back, but the Bucs got Levante David back, and he's amazing as a run defender and just covering backs and tight ends. So that having him back is a huge asset for the Bucs as well. I think you'll probably see Cam Akers get a lot of attention out of the backfield as a receiver, as an extension of the run game. I think that's what you're going to have to use him, because I don't think you're going to be able to run the ball. And then it just comes down to the Bucs making tackles, playing sound football, using good technique, wrapping up tackles and not letting guys beat you an extra 3, 4, 5, big yard plays. So that's why I'm so excited for this match, because I think both teams have ways that they can stop the other team, and both teams have ways they can score on the other team. So, this could be, like a Super Bowl rematch where it's 16-13. This could be a 38-33 game. This could be a mid-20s game. Like, there's so many ranges of outcomes for this game. I think that's one of the reasons why it's so exciting. But it all starts with the defenders doing their job and playing. I mean, I can't stress the word technique enough, because tackling has been such an issue for this team. They have to just tackle. I don't know what else to say. They have to tackle when they have sure wrap ups, because it's been an issue, and that's the way that this team can beat you. Especially Cooper Kupp breaking tackles, Cam Akers breaking tackles. I mean, but I think they have the matchups required to at least slow this Rams team down to the point where they're not just exploding on offense.
Well, the tackling issue brings up the Rams defense, which is what I wanted to bring up here, because I want to hear your thoughts on, we kind of talk about, what the Buccaneers defense needs to do going against the Rams offense. And now I want to flip it and talk about what the Rams defense needs to do going against the Buccaneers offense. I hope I didn't just switch my words up right there. But, the Rams are pretty much, as of now, fully healthy on the defense, with the exception of one of our starting safeties, Taylor Rapp, who is out again this week. He was out last week with a concussion. He's still out. One of the bigger signings of the offseason, if not the only one, was us re-signing Eric Weddle, who was a couple years out of retirement. The Rams brought him back for the playoffs. But, we actually didn't need him, as much as one might think. You look at the game last week, and Terrell Burgess stepped up. Nick Scott played really well as well. And I expect that to happen this week. But JC, if you're the Buccaneers offense and you're looking at this Rams defense that has, Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, Jalen Ramsey, and has been pretty solid this season, what do you think the Buccaneers' strategy is going to be against the Rams defense? And do you think that, the Buccaneers with Tom Brady and Mike Evans and I believe, is Leonard Fournette confirmed back, or is that just a rumor?
He's not confirmed, but it looks like he's going to play. He'll probably be activated tomorrow afternoon before the 4:00 hour.
Gotcha. Okay. And that's, I was just reading up on that. So, assuming he's back, what do you think the Buccaneers' strategy is going to be against the Rams defense? And also, I'm curious to hear what you think the Rams defense would need to do to shut them down.
PrizePicks is the best app you've never heard of. You can choose between stars from all sports, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 players to increase how much money you win. Join PrizePicks today by using our promo code DTRAMS and get a double deposit on your first deposit when signing up with PrizePicks.
Girls, I don't know about you, but I'm tired of finding a bush when I go down in my man's chimney. Dear Santa, all I want this holiday season is for my man to have smooth jingle balls. Thankfully, Manscaped answered with the Performance Package 4.0, so I don't have to find Santa's beard in my man's pants again. Ladies, this holiday season, get your man products that will leave him smelling fresh with their all-new ultra-premium body wash and a 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. It's time to give the man in your life the gift of beautiful skin, hair, and balls this holiday season. Go to manscaped.com and use code DTR for 20% off plus free shipping.
Obviously, pressure is, the biggest one. You've got some really great defensive linemen out there that can really get after Tom. So I think you got to get pressure to him. However, that can be a double-edged sword as well because, Brady gets the ball out so quick. Last week he was 2.17, release rate from getting the ball out of his hands. On the season, he's at 2.48, which is, the fastest of besides Ben Roethlisberger this season. So, and that's really a spot where the Rams have struggled this season. They've allowed the highest completion percentage to pass on short passes over the middle at 80.2. They're ranked 28th in average gain allowed, 7.9. Then on short passes to the left, the right, the middle, they've allowed a 68.2 completions percentage. It's been really a challenge for this Rams team. Part of that's because the linebackers aren't the best. But if they can get the ball out quick, I will say, the Rams play a lot of zone coverage and they don't play much man coverage at all. But, even speaking with Brady, he said, their aggressive pattern match with coverages effectively can turn into man, even though they're one of the most zone heavy teams in the league. They've got the players there that can match up and switch things over like that. So I think short passes quick passes are going to be definitely a huge part of the game plan for the Bucs. I mean, Brady has 24 touchdowns on quick passes this team, and no team has allowed more passing yards on quick passes than the Rams this season. So that's definitely going to be a huge part of the game, I think. But also play action. I think play action is going to, you got to keep this team honest. You can't have them sell out for the pass every single time. So getting Leonard Fournette back in, getting Keyshawn Vaughn and Gio Bernard, involved in the running game, I think that's going to be huge. Even though you don't necessarily need the running game to set up play action, I think having it certainly helps. And tempo, I think they need to play up tempo. They've done that. They came out last week out of the gate, started with an up tempo offense, and that's been really working for them at a really great clip the last couple of games. But they're also going to have to scheme up some deep shots, right? You can't just rely on those quick passes, even though, the offensive line might be banged up. You're going to have to, whether it's keeping, Leonard Fournette into block, or whether that's keeping Gronk for a chip block or just keeping him in and being able to set something up deep for Mike Evans or speedy guys like Scotty Miller. Looks like John Brown might play this week because Brashad Perriman has been ruled out. So, maybe you have him go deep, but you need to throw it deep a few times too. It's like, if you just do the quick passes, you got to keep the defense honest. You got to keep them thinking, okay, well, here's quick passes, but here's also some deep balls. The Rams are set up to stop big plays, but they've given up 10 plays of 40 plus yards, and 20, 53, 20 plus yards this season. They're not the worst numbers, but they're not the best either. You're already out of starting safety, so I think you got to get Gronk involved, obviously, because I don't see a player on that team that can really match up and take him away. But again, it comes into a situation where how ready are the offensive linemen ready? Because if you need to keep Gronk in, that takes another guy. So there's multiple ways I think the Pats can move the ball. It's just execution is going to be a huge part of that. The Rams, like I said, pressure. They've got to play great technique within their scheme. I don't think Jalen Ramsey's done much shadowing all season, so it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. That last game, I think he was in the slot predominantly on Chris Godwin, so maybe he stays outside on Evans. But Evans has also been a guy who's been able to go into the slot and get matchups. Last week was a perfect example on Avonte Maddox, a guy who's much shorter than him at 5'8", 180 pounds. So I mean, you've got different matchups that you can create with Evans if Jalen Ramsey's not following him around. So it's like I said, you got two really evenly matched teams in terms of talent, in terms of coaching, in terms of what they do best, matches up good with what the other team does best. So it's going to be a great game to watch. I think this is easily the game of the week. The only problem we have now is that, Hockey is going to be refereeing. So hopefully there's not flags flying all over the place.
And
any way to show those arms of his, he'll get it, just like his dad.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. I mean, Brady is 10-1 in those games, but he throws, and he's in literally the top 3 in like every referee metric known to man. Who knows what he had to do to get this job, in the divisional round. The fact he is actually a head official, but he is. Looking at this, though, I think before we get into, because we do like stat predictions, if you're comfortable throwing any of those out there, and we'll throw like, a couple players that we're kind of feeling good about stat wise. And then we'll also do a prediction of the score if you're comfortable with that as well. You don't have to. So we'll be doing that. But going into that, I just wanted to point out that, I think this game is really going to come down to quite simply tackling. And I think, regardless if, Stafford is averaging 15 per throw, 15 yards per throw like he did, this past week against Arizona, or, it's a dink and dunk approach to take advantage of Tampa. I think it's very simple. Both teams have to tackle. Tampa, according to PFF, is 29th in the league to the Rams 9th in the league in tackles. However, the Rams had a game where they had the most missed tackles on the season with 19 against the San Francisco 49ers, the last game of the year. That killed them down the stretch. If they made a few of those tackles, they win that game, and we're probably not even talking right now, as crazy as that sounds. So, really what it comes down to is this. I think when you have Tom Brady and you have the ability, yes, he can, test down the field. And I was honestly surprised that Kyler wasn't able to test down the field a little bit more. We did see him do it at times, but, he wasn't able to because the pass rush was so great. They're number 1 according to PFF pass rush efficiency rating. So, right now, I just think with the Rams, the way they're playing, Tampa, if they can set up, some slip screens to whether it's Fournette, very underrated pass catcher out of the backfield, a Giovanni Bernard, a Keyshawn Vaughn, keep them honest, maybe even some bubble screens. If they're able to do that and force the Rams to make tackles, this could be, an interesting thing here. And, I think both teams have to, tackle because like you mentioned, Cooper Kupp can slip one. Odell obviously is one of the best in space when he has the ball in his hands. Cam Akers, I mean, he's 5.5, months off, a torn Achilles, and you never know it. He breaks tackles more than guys that are fully healthy. So, it's going to be crazy in that regard. But I guess going kind of into it, Alexis, if you wanted to start our stat prediction part of this show, then we can do that. JC, if you have anything, obviously throw it out there. I know Alexis likes to start with hers. So, yeah.
So I don't have much because I get very, I don't know if I'd say superstitious, but maybe a little stitious when it comes to making predictions for the playoffs, because it just feels like so much heavier and like they hold so much more importance for some reason. So I typically try to avoid thinking about it. But I do make PrizePicks, as Jake knows. They do sponsor our podcast, and they are a very awesome app to bet on players, all through the year in all different sports, especially in the NFL playoffs. And guys, you can get a 100% deposit match using our code of VTR Rams. Just want to throw that out there for everybody. But okay. So if I'm looking at my PrizePicks, for me, I have Cam Akers rushing the over on 45 yards. I think Cam Akers is going to have a much bigger game than that. I think we saw last week that Cam Akers is by far running back number 1 for the Rams.
Yes.
Much more. And I'll be honest, I think Sean McVay used him a lot more than I expected him to. I am not surprised that he is running back number 1. I just didn't think they were going to give him so much action right away. So I think that Cam Akers is going to have a big game. I also think that Van Jefferson is going to have a big game. I know that a lot of people said that last week and that he maybe quote unquote underperformed.
Me.
But, I think that, with Cooper Kupp, like we saw, teams, they focus on him. I mean, he is wide receiver 1 for the Rams, which is crazy being on a team with Odell Beckham. If you were to say that a few years ago, you wouldn't believe it. But I think that him and Odell are obviously going to be the two guys that the Buccaneers watch. And I think that could also open up a lot for Van Jefferson. So I think Van Jefferson is going to have a touchdown this game, as is Tyler Higbee. I really like how Tyler Higbee has played towards the end of this season, and you definitely see his targets increasing the more attention that is given to other receivers. So I know it's kind of like a boring prediction, but I think that Van Jefferson and Tyler Higbee are going to have touchdowns. Defensively, I'm not quite sure that I want to make any picks, so I'm not. I'm going to trust my gut. I get so weirded out when it comes to the playoffs because I don't want to jinx anything, which I have done in the past. So I'm learning my lesson. And I'll let our guest, JC, go, Jake, and give us any predictions that he has.
Yeah, I think, I think the Bucs do force a turnover. I can see Stafford, throwing an interception, maybe to Mike Edwards, who's just been on a tear, maybe to Jamel Dean, who dropped one last week, or I think one of the guys in the secondary to get an interception off of him. I don't know which one. I think they'll probably get a sack or two. Maybe Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, and maybe like a Ndamukong Suh gets a sack, kind of come back full circle there. And then on offense, I can see Brady throwing for just under 300 yards. Probably finding Gronk in the end zone, maybe a rushing touchdown to Fournette, maybe a passing touchdown to Fournette. Him having a big game back just because of his ability to break tackles and the quick passes. And again, I know the zone becomes a little bit more, it turns a little into man with that aggressive pattern matching, but you still give Leonard Fournette in space. I think it can make you guys pay a little bit for that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I mean, I got 3 touchdowns. So yeah, maybe 2 to Fournette, 1 to Gronk. Mike Evans probably, I think, can have a big game, depending on if Jalen's shadowing him. I know Mike Evans loves man, and they had a really good matchup. Last time he had 100 yards, and they always have good matchups. So I can see him probably getting somewhere around like 70, 80 yards, maybe crossing that 100 if he gets a couple good looks in the slot. I don't know how much they'll be running the ball. I don't think either one of these teams is going to have a big enough lead at any point to really turn to running the ball. And what they both do best is obviously pass the ball. So I think you're going to see, some good yardage chunks from the quarterbacks. But yeah, combined, both teams maybe have 150 rushing yards total. I just don't see them getting a lot of work done on the ground for either team.
No, I hear you. I feel like Akers can run the football against this defense, but it doesn't matter about feeling, right? When you were talking about, betting, which, Alexis mentioned PrizePicks, and I'm going to be putting together PrizePicks lineups and things like that. I'm not just sitting there like, yeah, it could happen. I need to be able to know it can happen. And I don't know. I could totally see the Rams abandoning the run at the first sign of trouble. I mean, they ran it 20 times for 67 yards with Sony Michel the last time they played against the Buccaneers. But one thing that is for certain, in my opinion anyway, is since he's come back, Cam Akers has been utilized in the passing game. We saw 40 yards with Arizona, probably would have been 80 if, he got another practice and was on the same page with Stafford. It was underthrown. So the fact of the matter is this: Cam Akers you can get for 15.5 receiving yards, that on PrizePicks. I'm going to hit that. I'm also going to hit Tyler Higbee, who's 40.5. Higbee has hit that in all 5 games. He's been utilized more. And I think with defenses trying to key in on Cooper Kupp and maybe even now Odell, I think it opens up the door for Tyler Higbee. I'm not going to hit Van Jefferson. I'm going to let Alexis have that one. If she wins, she can definitely, talk there, have that. Patrick Mahomes, by the way, there's a promotion. He is 0.5 yards. JC, you don't have to know anything about PrizePicks, but tell me, do you think Patrick Mahomes throws for a yard?
Yeah.
So that would be in my go-to lineup. And then continuing on, we have Matt Gay, fantasy points, 8 points. He has been so dominant for the Rams. He's hit that 3 of the last 5 games. And I just feel like Matt Gay, his former team, the Buccaneers, letting him go for suck up. I like him, especially on the road. I think the Rams are more likely to kick a field goal than go for, it on 4th down on the road, take the points. And then lastly, I'm going to go with Tom Brady's over for pass completions. It's 26. I feel like that's a little bit too small. He had 29 against Philadelphia, 29 against Carolina, 34 against the Jets. He only had 18 against Carolina again, which, I mean, let's be honest, 4 out of 5 times, 27 against New Orleans. It's a pretty good indication. We're talking about the game script being very dink and dunk, quick passing heavy for Tom Brady. And so with that being said, a guy that's thrown 41 times, 55 times, completed 41 passes against the Rams the last time they played in week 3. I'm not taking Stafford because we've seen him throw 17 times and we've seen him throw, 50 times. You don't know, and you never know with the yards. He's not a guarantee with the yards because of the Rams offense never being a predictable offense. You just never know who is going to have the statistical output. But with Tom Brady, I feel very confident his consistency and constantly throwing the ball in this offense. I don't know, JC, if the Bucs are going to abandon the run the way they did against the Rams last year. They were down 14-7 at the half, and the Rams came back out and scored a touchdown. Really put them in a bad spot. Tom Brady was their leading rusher with 3 carries for 14 yards. So maybe even I go with Tom Brady's yards rushing. I don't know if that's even a thing. I'll check, but I'm feeling pretty good about the pass completions. Like I said, he completed 41 against the Rams the last time. That's probably not going to happen. It looks like his rushing is 1.5, but he hasn't gone over that in 3 straight games. So I don't know about that one. But yeah, I think he's going to get over 26 completions. So that is my PrizePicks lineup. I have to wrap it up. Cam Akers, 15.5 receiving yards over. Tom Brady over 26 pass completions. Patrick Mahomes getting a yard. Matt Gay over 8 points in for his kicking and fantasy. You get for I think a 40-yard field goal, you get 4 points, and extra points 1. So, and then Tyler Higbee has to get over 40.5. Feel good about it. But that is mine right there. Glad we were able to do that because that is probably, and you can ask Alexis, maybe it's just me, that is the most anxiety inducing part of our show because I have to sit there and be like, someone is going to come back. And if I get this thing wrong, they're going to be yelling at me left and right. So
well,
we have a similar thing that we have. So I'm not going to say the name of it because I don't want competing, but we have a similar site that does the same stuff. So it's definitely tough, man. You look at over unders and stuff like that. You're like, I will push back a little bit on Tyler Higbee. I know Dallas Goedert finished with 6 for 92 last week. It was Levante's first game back in 3 games. But Levante David usually does a really good job matching up against tight ends. I mean, what he was able to do to Kelsey in the Super Bowl for that second half, it just kind of limit him. I think, 40 yards seems manageable, I think. But I wouldn't be surprised if Levante is able to shut him down as well. But I think everyone else, yeah, you're right.
Oh, yeah. If it was 65
yards, really?
I wouldn't do it. Yeah. But yeah, Mahomes is 0.5 on PrizePicks.
That's crazy.
I did capitalize on that. I definitely have that in one of my entries. That's amazing. But guys, now it's another anxiety-inducing segment where we have to predict the score. Again, I'm not superstitious, but I might be. And this makes me very nervous to say, but I will do it because it's part of the show and what we do. And I'm just gonna say it. I think the Rams are going to win this game 28-21. Kind of a boring score prediction, I know. Again, but my stats were kind of boring. My score is boring because I don't want to get too detailed and crazy because I just feel like it'll come around and bite me. So 28-21 Rams. JC, what do you have?
Well, I think
we got to choose the Bucs.
We're staying in the 20s. We just came out, guys. If you looking for some content about the Bucs this upcoming week, please go over and check out PewterReport.com.
Do it. We
have our preview and prediction out right now. Just came out today. We have a great analysis of the Phillies run. Not Philly. The running matchup from week 3. The run game matchup. We have a great analysis of what the Bucs need to do to actually win the game plan to win this game. So a lot of good stuff out there. But my prediction I put out today, and Jake, unfortunately, one of your prize picks is going down, and that's Matt Gay. He's going to finish with 7 points. not 8. So he's just right out the cusp. So I've got the Bucs going in here. They're at home. I think that plays an advantage, obviously. If they can get started, get the ball first, get started quickly, take the, and keep the crowd into it and really make it hard for, the Rams offense to make adjustments and hear each other. I think that's going to be a huge factor. This is only the second playoff game the Bucs have had since 2007, not counting the Super Bowl. So I think they're going to be able to come out very close game though. I have it a field goal game, but I have the Bucs going out there scoring 27 points, 3 touchdowns, 2 field goals, because I do think the Rams will come up with a stop. And on the other side, I have the Rams scoring 3 touchdowns of their own, but just 1 field goal to lose the game to the Bucs, 27-24. That's what I have right now. Like I said, I think it's going to be a battle all the way through. I don't think either team's going to have a big lead and it's a rally back. I think they're going to go back and forth. No team's really going to get that chance to really be able to, get the ground game going and try to chew up some clock. I could see fast possessions. I could see lots of punts back and forth because both of these teams are so dynamic at scoring, but their defenses are so dynamic as well, being able to stop scoring. So if you look at what the Bucs have been able to do, they've scored 33 points. They're 8-1 at home on the season. They play really well there. Having that extra day to be in Tampa instead of having that travel day, especially a 6-hour travel day flight, and that doesn't include what if something goes wrong with the plane, and now they're on the plane for an extra 2 hours or whatnot. So, I mean, having that ability to be at the facility and get the treatment leading right up to the day of the game, I think is going to be huge for the offensive linemen that are banged up, some of the other players. So I think all that stuff weighs into it. And that's why, it's a close call. I mean, we have 6 writers, 6 staff members on Pewter Report. We all picked the Bucs except for one of us. And the ones that did pick, we're all close within, 6 points. The one that picked against, he's a little bit more X's and O's stats guy, and he's really worried about Bowles really finding a solution for McVay because he hasn't been. He's got the Rams in a blowout, 38-17. So he's public enemy number 1 right now in Tampa. We're all hoping it goes the opposite way. But yeah, regardless, it should be hopefully it's a good game and it's not a 38-17 blowout. I know that's great for fan bases, but for us that cover the game and fans of the game, I want a good game that goes back and forth to the very end. And I think a 27-24 victory for the Bucs would be perfect.
It would, except you have the wrong winner. No. I actually I'm not a blowout, but I have 31-20. I think this team is the best team in the league. Coming into the year, I said that. That was before Akers got hurt, and I still believed it. The thing is, everyone asks me, and I've done so many shows. I'm losing track of how many shows I've done this week. But, the thing with the Rams is that everyone's asking me, well, who do you want to play? Did you want to play Tampa? Do you want to play Dallas? Do you want to play Arizona, San Francisco? I don't care who they play, because it does not matter. When the Rams play their game and they aren't taken out of their rhythm, they can beat anyone. They can also lose to anybody. I mean, we saw that 3-game losing streak to the Titans. We saw a 3-game losing streak. Obviously the 49ers, that game was the only blowout they had all year to them. And then we see the losing, the loss in Lambeau. And honestly, the loss in Lambeau kind of shows me why the Rams could compete with the Packers right now and win that game, because they only lost by 8, despite the fact the Packers had the ball for 2/3 of the game. Now, with the Bucs, they were not fully healthy when the Rams played them, but the Rams are not fully healthy now. So it could be very interesting. The Bucs are dealing with some injuries. The Rams are dealing with some injuries. I don't think either team, you could tell, there's people that are saying the Bucs are way more banged up than the Rams. I think it's about even, to be honest with you, because like you said, the Bucs will probably have their defense back, but they have their offensive linemen banged up. They don't have Godwin. The Rams don't have Woods. They won't have Sebastian Joseph Day, Darrell Henderson. Andrew Whitworth is out. Taylor Rapp is out. Jordan Fuller's out for the season. He had 2 interceptions against Brady the first time he ever went up against him. So, I do think that, there's definitely some sort of balance here. I think the Rams are the better team. Now, the thing that is unfortunate about this, JC, is that I think we're looking at 2 of the best teams in the league, period. Because I think the 3 best teams in the league, whether people want to, acknowledge it or not, are the Rams, Bucs, and Packers. I think the NFC is winning the Super Bowl this year. So no matter who wins this game, no matter who wins the NFC championship, I think it comes out of the NFC. I think they're more battle tested. I think they have better all around play, whereas, the Chiefs, they have some streaky defensive play. They're very Mahomes based. They don't have much of a running game. I think the Bucs have developed a running game. Whether or not that they can use Fournette in this one will, be a factor. I think the Rams have a running game now with Akers back. I think the Packers obviously do, and we know that the 49ers do. So every team in the AFC has a running game to, teams in the AFC who really don't. The Bills, they just figured out how to use Devin Singletary, but how's that going to last? The Chiefs, who knows with them? The Bengals have Joe Mixon, but aside from that, you have Derrick Henry. It's just there's really a few teams in these playoffs that legitimately have a running game. And so looking at this game, I just feel like with the Rams, they're going to be able to, whether they come out sluggish or what have you, I think that they have figured out how to fix their offense, and they didn't even need to when it came to the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers played a team that just simply doesn't exist anymore. That Rams team was way different. They don't run that offense the way they did. Matthew Stafford isn't playing backyard football like that. It's not to say he can't, but they weren't running anywhere near as much as they are now. They weren't using 12 and 13 personnel groupings. They weren't giving these guys more of an opportunity. They didn't change their blocking scheme. I do think the loss really motivated them after the San Francisco game. And the only game that I've seen so far the Rams play is they scored 34 and won 34-11 against a team that everyone was saying was, potential Super Bowl contenders at one point. So I'll take the Rams 31-20. I think that the Rams are going to be able to get to Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady will be able to, make adjustments in the second half, and they will have these drives where they're able to, kind of dink and dunk their way down the field, get the passes out. But I think the Rams showed you last week how, not being able to challenge that secondary deep down the field and getting pressure on Kyler Murray and getting pressure on Brady will protect that secondary. Not having Fuller, it's almost going to hide the deficiencies, and so that's what I'm expecting. I think if Fournette can get going, this will be a very interesting game, but I do think the Rams score a touchdown down the stretch. When we're talking it's like 24-20, I could see them scoring a touchdown at the end of the game to kind of seal it. 31-20 is how I have it.
Just a little pushback I will give you on that is Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury are nowhere near the same level as Tom Brady and Bruce Arians.
No, absolutely not.
Kyler Murray had, I think, even with the rush, I think he had like 4 seconds to throw the ball on some plays, and that's an eternity for Tom. He's gonna make some plays. So while I think obviously the Rams and Alexis brought it up that they probably played their most complete game of all season, I don't think we still have seen that from the Bucs. You can make a case that maybe they did against the Eagles. But I think this is obviously it's going to have to be the best game of their season. And I think they're capable of turning that performance. It's going to be an amazing matchup. You made some great points. I think Alexis made some great points. I know I made some great points.
You did.
I'm just very excited for this game. It's definitely going to be one for the ages, I hope.
I think it will be. I'm very excited as well. Excited and good and nervous, that I get before these playoff games. And we have 2 games tomorrow and then 2 games on Sunday, including the Rams. So that's very exciting. But guys, that's going to do it for us. Thank you, JC, for coming on. We really appreciate it. And you giving your thoughts and analysis. And, one of us is going to be happy after the game and one of us is not. So we obviously, Jake and I hope it's us. Nothing personal, but we do hope our team wins, as you do as well. But as always, guys, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. You can follow us on social media at Downtown Rams. You can follow me on Twitter at the Alexis Craft, and you can follow Jake at JK Bogan. We will be back Sunday night after the game with an analysis episode of the Rams versus Bucs. But until then, guys, stay safe, take care, and go Rams.
Get 20% off and free shipping with the code DTR at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and make sure to use code DTR. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
PrizePicks is the best app you've never heard of. You can choose between stars from all sports, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 players to increase how much money you win. Join PrizePicks today by using our promo code DTRAMS and get a double deposit on your first deposit when signing up with PrizePicks.